Lesson 1. Attila. Let's get going. Which animal would you like to keep as a pet and why? Read to understand. For me, a house or an apartment becomes a home when you add one set of four legs, a happy tail, and that indescribable measure of love that we call a dog. In a mood of optimism, they named him Attila. What they wanted of a dog was strength, formidableness, and fight, and hence he was named after the Surge of Europe. The puppy was only a couple of months old. He had square jaws, red eyes, a pug nose, and a massive head. And there was every reason to hope that he would do credit to his name. The immediate reason for buying him was a series of housebreaking and thefts in the neighborhood, and our householders decided to put more trust in a dog than in the police. They searched far and wide and met a dog fancier. He held up a month-old black and white puppy and said, "Come and fetch him in a month hence. In 6 months he will be something to be feared and respected." He spread out before them a pedigree sheet which was stunning. The puppy had running in his veins the choicest and the most ferocious blood. They were satisfied, paid an advance, returned a month later, put down 75 rupees and took the puppy home. The puppy, as I have already indicated, did not have a very progressive appearance and was none too playful, but this did not prevent his owners from sitting in a circle around him and admiring him. There was a prolonged debate as to what he should be named. The youngest suggested, "Why not call him Tiger?" "Every other streetmonger is named Tiger," came the reply. "Why not Caesar?" "Caesar? If a census was taken of dogs, you would find at least 15,000 Caesar in South India alone." "Why not Fire? Why not Thunder? Grip?" There was a deadlock. Someone suggested Attila, and a shout of joy went up to the skies. No more satisfying name was thought of for man or animal. But as time passed, our Attila exhibited a love of humanity which was sometimes disconcerting. The scourge of Europe! Could he ever have been like this? They put it down to his age. What child could not help loving all creatures? In their zeal to establish this fact, they went to the extent of delving into ancient history to find out what the scourge of Europe was like when he was a child. It was rumored that as a child he clung to his friends and to his parents, friends so fast that often he had to be beaten and separated from them. But when he was 14, he showed the first sign of his future. He knocked down and plugged his knife into a fellow who tried to touch his marbles, and this was discouraging. Let a dog reach the parallel of 14 years and people would get to know his real nature, but this was a vain promise. He stood up 20 inches high, had a large frame and a forbidding appearance on the whole, but that was all. A variety of people entered the gates of the house every day. Mendicants, bill collectors, postmen, tradesmen, and family friends. All of them were warmly received by Attila. The moment the gate clicked, he became alert and stood up looking towards the gate. By the time anyone entered the gate, Attila went blindly charging forward. But that was all. The person had only stop and smile and Attila would melt. He would behave as if he apologized for even giving an impression of violence. He would lower his head, cover his body, tuck his tail between his legs, roll his eyes, and moan as if to say, "How sad that you should have mistaken my gesture," only hurried down to greet you, till he was patted on the head, stroked and told that he was forgiven. He would be in extreme misery. Gradually he realized that his bouncing advances caused much unhappy misunderstandings, and so when he heard the gate click he hardly stirred. He merely looked in that direction and wagged his tail. The people at home did not like this attitude very much. They thought it rather a shame. Why not change his name to Blindworm? Somebody asked. "He eats like an elephant," said the mother of the family. "You can employ 2 watchmen for the price of rice and meat he consumes. Somebody comes even morning and steals all the flowers in the garden and Attila won't do anything about it. He has better business to do than catch flower thieves," replied the youngest, always the defender of the dog. "What is better business?" "Well, if somebody comes in at dawn and takes away the flowers, do you expect Attila to be looking out for him even at that hour?" "Why not? It's what a well-fed dog ought to be doing instead of sleeping. You ought to be ashamed of your dog. He does not sleep all night, mother. I have often seen him going around the house and watching all night." "Really? Does he prowl about all night?" "Of course he does," said the defender. "I am quite alarmed to hear it," said the mother. "Please lock him up in a room at night, otherwise he may call in a burglar and show him around. Left alone, a burglar might after all be less successful. It wouldn't be so bad if he at least barked. He is the most noiseless dog I have ever seen in my life." The young man was extremely irritated at this. He considered it to be the most uncharitable sadness, but the dog justified it that very night. Ranga lived in a hut 3 miles from town. He was a gang coolie, often employed in road mending. Occasionally at night he enjoyed the thrill and profit breaking into houses. At 1 o'clock that night, Ranga removed the bars of a window on the eastern side of the house and slipped in. He edged along the wall, searched all the trunks and almirahs in the house, and made a neat bundle of all the jewelry and other valuables he could pick up. He was just starting to go out. He had just to put 1 foot out of the gap he had made in the window when he saw Attila standing below, looking up expectantly. Ranga thought his end had come. He expected the dog to bark, but not Attila. He waited for a moment, grew tired of waiting, stood up and put his 4 paws on the lap of the burglar. He put back his ears, licked Ranga's hand and rolled his eyes. Ranga whispered, "I hope you aren't going to bark." "Don't you worry, I am not the sort," the dog tried to say. "Just a moment, let me get down from here," said the burglar. The dog obliquely took away his paws and lowered himself. "Look there," said Ranga, pointing to the backyard. "There is a cat." Attila put up his ears at the mention of the cat and dashed in the direction indicated. One might easily have thought he was going to tear up the cat, but actually he didn't want to miss the pleasure of the company of a cat if there was one. As soon as the dog left him, Ranga made a dash for the gate. Given a second more he would have hopped over it. But the dog turned and saw what was about to happen and in one spring was at the gate. He looked hurt. "Is this proper?" he seemed to ask. "Do you want to shake me off?" He hung his heavy tail down so loosely and looked so miserable that the burglar stroked his head, at which he revived. The burglar opened the gate and went out, and the dog followed him. Attila's greatest ambition in life was to wander in the street freely. Now things seemed to be shaping up idly. Attila liked his new friend so much that he wouldn't leave him alone even for a moment. He lay before Ranga when he sat down to eat, sat on the edge of his mat when he slept in his hut, waited patiently at the edge of the pond when Ranga went there now and then for a wash, slept on the roadside when Ranga was at work. This sort of companionship got on Ranga's nerves. He implored, "Oh, dog, leave me alone for a moment, won't you?" Unmoved, Attila sat before him with his eyes glued on his friend. Attila's disappearance created a sensation in the bungalow. "Didn't I tell you?" the mother said. "To lock him up. Now some burglar has gone away with him. What a shame! We can hardly mention it to anyone." "You are mistaken," replied the defender. "He must have gone off on his own account. If he had been here, no thief would have dared to come in. I don't know if we should after all thank the thief to take away the dog. He may keep the jewels as a reward for taking away that dog. Shall we withdraw the police complaint?" This facetiousness ceased 1 week later, and Attila rose to the ranks of a hero. The eldest son of the house was going towards the market one day. He saw Attila trotting behind someone on the road. "Hey!" shouted the young man. At which Ranga turned and broke into a run. Attila, who always suspected that his new friend was waiting for the slightest chance to desert him, galloped behind Ranga. "Hey, Attila!" shouted the young man. And he also started running. Attila wanted to answer the call after making sure of his friend, and so he turned his head for a second and galloped faster. Ranga desperately doubled his pace. Attila was determined to stick to him at any cost. As a result, he ran so fast that he overtook Ranga and clumsily blocked his way, and Ranga stumbled over him and fell. As he rolled on the ground, a piece of jewelry which he was taking to a receiver of stolen property flew from his hand. The young man recognized it as belonging to his sister and sat down on Ranga. A crowd collected, and the police appeared on the scene. Attila was the hero of the day. Even the lady of the house softened towards him. She said, "Whatever one might say of Attila, one has to admit that he is a very cunning detective. He is duty forward." It was as well that Attila had no powers of speech. Otherwise, he would have burst into a lamentation which would have shattered the pedestal under his feet.